Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of our malicious compliance. Manager asks me to motivate an employee into doing a job he doesn't like. This happened around mid-2006. I was a low-level team leader in a tech consulting company. I was in charge of 2 teams of 3 each. The client was a bank. If you've ever worked with a bank, you know that technology moves pretty slowly on a bank. For instance, the project we worked at was in Java 1.3 that got deprecated in March 6. One of the guys in my team, let's call him MaxPowers, was the kind of guy that's always trying to be on the cutting edge of everything, and we had him working on the project and he asked several times to migrate the project to a newer version of Java or be assigned to a project with more up-to-date tech. He just was assigned to this one, but I couldn't do any of those things. I knew he was unmotivated because of this, and I was also pretty bummed about having to work with outdated technology, so we both started researching open source tools to use in the company that were cutting edge and proposed some improvements to our manager. He liked the idea, so he formed a task force to create tools for the company. The task force was Max and myself. However, this was a side job. Our main responsibilities were still on the bank project. One day, on a team, project leaders and managers meeting, we were talking about desired and undesired rotation, people leaving the company, and how to stop it. I brought Max's case up, saying that having someone extremely focused on cutting-edge tech doing boring outdated stuff was probably the recipe to undesired rotation. The manager said, "You're wrong, this is totally desired rotation, we want people motivated to work here, he's not." I said, "But he's not because you're unwilling to move it to a project with better tech. Plus, he's one of our best assets by a mile, he's doing the work of 2 to 3 people in the task force, we wouldn't want him to leave, it would be a problem." Then manager said, "Then it's your fault, you have to motivate him better." I stopped arguing. To me, Max leaving was totally a case of undesired rotation. It was a problem to my planning and, furthermore, it was losing someone whom I saw as one of the top assets available in the company. But the manager said that I needed to motivate Max better. Cue malicious compliance. So I did. I motivated him to get the hell out of the company. He wasn't going to be allowed to work in cutting-edge projects there. He found a new and exciting job in no time. He's a millionaire now. He got called by Google to interview with them. He rejected the offer. He could have been retired by age 38, but he kept on working because he still loves what he does. We struggled to cover him. We had to hire 2 more devs and the task force came to an end. I couldn't do it just by myself and the rest of the devs weren't as interested in it. Next story. Want me to take a message? Sure. I work in claims, and because we're long-term / personal injury claims, we're not considered a call center, but we do take calls from our claimants and need to be available to take calls from claimants, and on average I receive about 6 to 8 calls a day, but generally only 4 of those are for me. Recently there has been a trend of some colleagues putting themselves on unavailable for long periods of time, 3+ hours daily, to avoid calls, and when you reach out to ask if they're free for a call, they don't respond until it's been at least 5 minutes, because in that time you've probably ended the call for them anyway. I'd taken a call for a colleague named Sally already, and in a department of 100+ colleagues, 2 calls for one person is unusual. When I received another call, but this time it was from an external complaints body wanting to ask Sally some questions, which at that stage not yet a complaint. At 2:32 I messaged Sally to ask if she's free, and while I wait I get the background from the nice external complaints person. At 2:42 she replied and said, "Sorry, I was just on a call, everything okay?" And I immediately replied saying, "No, they're still on the call and I can transfer you." Sally immediately backtracks and says, "Sorry, I'm still on the call, can you take a message?" What Sally doesn't know is that I can see her status and it's set to do not disturb and not on a call, so I know she's just trying to get out of taking calls, but I just agreed and I decided instead of resolving the call, I would take a message and pass it on. As requested, I took a message from the nice external complaints person. As I wasn't able to resolve the query, I confirmed that I would escalate it urgently to Sally's manager and our internal complaints team, as they wanted to know about an urgent payment that hadn't been processed in a week. Sally immediately replied and said I should have said who it was and she'd have taken the call. That's so odd, I thought she was on a call? Next story. Cell phone company tries to keep my money. I purchased a flip phone for my elderly father from one of those companies that only cater to older adults. His phone stopped working, so I asked for a replacement. I was told that phone is no longer sold, but there is a new version. I ordered the new phone. It worked for about a month and a couple of days, then stopped. When I called customer service, the rep told me it is a known issue with the new version. I asked to have another phone sent but was told the 30-day warranty expired. I asked if this is a known issue, then why aren't you sending replacements? She said she didn't know. The rep did some troubleshooting. It worked for a day, then stopped again. I reached out to corporate and they refused to replace the phone. I asked for a refund for the phone and a refund for the last month I was charged. They flat out refused to refund my last bill. Corporate told me to return the phone, meaning I would have to pay the shipping cost. After sending complaints to the Better Business Bureau, the FTC, the district attorney, and posting about my experience on Google and Yelp, they finally sent me a return shipping label. They did refuse to refund the last month, even though my dad had, with their own admission, only used the phone for a couple of days the last month. Cue malicious compliance. So I sent the phone in the box it came in. I also double boxed it and packed it with a ton of stuffing. I overloaded it so much you can barely see the box the phone is in. I made sure that box was ridiculously heavy. You will pay for the last month even if it's through your return label. Next story. Supervisor asked for some help and got exactly what he asked for. Short and basic story, but it gives me a lot of happiness. Back in college, my supervisor at work always pointed out flaws with what I did. If she asked me to restock item A and I noticed that item B also required a restock, I would find her or a shift lead and ask about it. Turns out it bothered her and distracted her a lot when I did that because it prevented her from talking the ear off customers. We had a million complaints about a talkative manager who wouldn't let the customers go. So one day I had enough, not wanting to be written up, again, for taking initiative. I decided to do exactly what she asked. It was Halloween season and for some reason the candy shipment for one specific item was delayed. It was a favorite, so we were losing money every day it wasn't in stock. You might be able to guess where this is going. I noticed that the candy had arrived, but she had not noticed the same or had missed the message she got about it, so it wasn't restocked. No one else really cared. It stayed that way for 2 days until she asked me about it and I told her it's been 2 days. I got an earful, but she couldn't do anything to me. I resigned a month later as I got an internship in my industry, and I later heard that this affected get promotion, one of many factors, but I still count it as a win. Next story. Cash only, you say? Tow truck story reminded me of my own tow truck MC a few years ago. Obligatory mobile post, sorry bad formatting, yada yada. I was living in an apartment with a small lot, and during the winter if there was a storm we were supposed to move our car to the street for the plow. Usually we would get an email and or text with the time to be out by. Usually. So one night overnight we get about 1.5 inches of snow. This is a place that gets a decent amount of snow, so no big deal. I wake up at a normal time, no text or anything. It's gonna be like 40 degrees and sunny, so it's gonna melt anyway. I figure I don't need to bother moving the car, so I sit down to play some video games before I go to work. Around 10 a.m. or so, I hear the plow outside and say, oh okay, get my boots and coat on and get ready to go. I get outside, plow is gone and people are starting to move back into the lot, so rather than move my car for the sake of moving it, I clear off the snow, grab my shovel and clean out around the car where it got plowed in. Honestly, our plow drivers suck, so it was the cleanest spot in the lot. Go back inside for an hour or so, walk outside to go to work and car is gone. What's that about? I didn't get any call or notification or anything, nobody knocked on my door. I'm 99.9% sure it got towed, but I'm fuming, so I called the police non-emergency line to report it stolen. Police super helpful. I explained the situation and that it's probably towed, but I'm confused as to why it was towed. They say it's a civil matter, so they aren't going to charge anyone with theft, but they are at least able to locate where the car is. Tow shop across town, $15 cab fee, whoopee. Call the shop to confirm my car is there and see what the damage is, $180 cash only. This is like 2019 in the United States, so cash only kinda weird, but I was working at a winery making tips, so I had a lot of cash saved for a rainy day luckily. A quirk of that is that being a small place, oftentimes the tips are in small bills, and we usually don't have enough big bills to exchange them, so on a day I make $100 plus in tips. I leave with a lot of 1s and 5s. First I tackle my change jar and count out $18 of loose change. Then I get the rest of the cash, as many 1s as I can, then 2 5s gets me to $180 even. Perfect. Honestly, this was only half malicious and half wanting to take the opportunity to unload the absurd amount of cash I had laying around, but off I go. Get to the shop, ask if there's anything they can do because I really don't think they had a real reason to tow me. Nope, nothing we can do, just following orders, the person behind the counter says with a very smug grin. Her grin turned to horror when I pulled out the change bag. I spend the next 15 minutes watching her meticulously count out pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, ones, fives, $180 even. I'm $10 short. I misheard her on the phone, it was $190. I pull a $20 out of my wallet and ask for the 2 fives back. Oh man, she was pissed. Was this petty, and did the tow truck desk lady do nothing wrong? Absolutely, but if you're gonna tow people's cars and make them pay nearly $200 in cash, don't be surprised. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.